On today's Road and Track 3-lap review, we're covering the 2017 Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio.
It's the first rear-wheel drive Alfa Romeo sports sedan in what, like a generation?
Yeah, they left the country in the 90s because the cars weren't very good and they didn't really sell.
But look at this one. It's gorgeous. And apparently it's pretty damn good to drive.
And fast. Giulia Quadrifoglio. That means Giulia, like Romeo and Juliet.
And then 4 fogs.
No, 4-leaf. Four section, 4 quadrants.
2.9 liter V6.
Turbocharged.
505 horsepower.
8-speed automatic from ZF, the same people that make the transmissions that go in just about everything.
Yeah, every car. Rear-wheel drive, which it's the first rear-wheel drive Alfa, as we've said, in America in 20 years?
Yeah.
25 years?
Right.
It's a thing. It's a thing we're all excited about. It was developed by the team that made the 458 Speciale. They did it in, 18 months, half the development time of a regular car, and everybody immediately thought, well, this car's gonna be trash because it was developed in half the time. The thing is, it's not bad. I like this car a lot, but there are little quirks to it that you'd expect from an Alfa Romeo, but that are slightly more annoying than you need them to be.
Well, let's talk about what's exciting about it, right? So, you said it was developed by the guys who did the 458 Speciale. That's Ferrari.
Yeah.
This is a 4-door sedan with a Ferrari-derived engine developed by Ferrari engineers who were in a hurry. When Ferrari guys get in a hurry, they either do really amazing things or really terrible things. And this falls somewhere in between.
Because there's some stuff on this car that is super amazing.
Like?
The steering, for example. The steering rack specifically. This is the quickest steering rack I think I've ever experienced on a sedan. I'm amazed they sell it to people. The front end feels like a 458, right?
The first time I drove one of these things on the street, I left my house, pulled out into the street, and went wham! And almost hit a curb because you dab in an inch of steering wheel and the car goes bang. It moves the front wheels just an impossible amount. And they did that to make it feel aggressive and also to make the thing feel really nimble. And on the road, it is above 5 or 6 or 70% of what you're comfortable putting into a winding road on a good fast day.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is.
Below that,
it's not as great.
the transmission doesn't like driving around town. It kind of slams from gear to gear, lurks off from a stop, because that ZF gearbox is only as good as the engineering time that was put into it, and the car was a little rushed. They didn't spend a lot of time calibrating it. The brakes are really grabby and wooden. The car sometimes jerks on and off from a stop, no matter how smooth you try to be with it.
But on a track, that immediate full pedal, when you're going into a hard corner, it's incredible, because I've never driven a sedan that stops like this.
I've never driven a sedan that's this neutral or this satisfying to just rail on.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part. That's what's so frustrating about it. Alphas used to be cars that demanded a little bit from you in terms of maintenance or attention. They're famous for braking and, hand gestures and things that go wrong and, oh, you don't care because Alfa Romeo. Fine, great. But in return, you were supposed to get some wonderful limit balance, and on a winding road or a racetrack, it was supposed to be amazing. And this is really, really good. But the details let it down.
It's very playful and it's very fun. It feels very Ferrari-ish in the way that it drives, right? But it feels a bit too aggressive for somebody. If you're like buying a C63, you're not gonna go, I need the Giulia, because the C63 is a more relaxed sort of experience. The Giulia is very much, you have to be paying attention to this car. And if you're not paying attention while you're driving it, then you're not gonna get the best out of it, and you're probably also not gonna like it.
Whether or not this is for you or for me or any given person, that depends on how much you like putting up
with problems.
And it's not to say that they're bad cars. They're not. It's a balance that you don't see a lot. And again, that's part of what makes it great.
So people are gonna look at this instead of an M3.
Why?
Well, the M3 over time has become less of an M3, right? It's gotten bigger, it's gotten heavier, it's turbocharged. It doesn't have the same benchmark feel in the steering. It just isn't as evocative and great as it used to be.
It's also not quite as special as it used to be, because it used to be that the M3 was the only 4-door that did what that car does. The only thing that was that satisfying, that quick, that handled that well, that stopped that well. And now there's Mercedes makes stuff, Audis make stuff.
Even Lexus makes stuff.
Everybody makes something that does the M3 job, and the M3 is no longer, it's not a unique car anymore. This is unique.
There's something special about it. It feels like an event driving this more than driving an M3 does.
We should be glad this car exists, and also a little sad that it's not more refined. And maybe those things maybe those have to go hand in hand. Maybe if it were perfect, you and I would get into it and probably be a little disappointed that it didn't have any characteristic flaws, and it wasn't, the angry redhead who threw lamps across the room when you got into an argument. But for me, I love what it does. I just wish it were 5 or 10% more resolved. I don't want an M3. I want this just a little better.